Hi, I'm Vicki Parnell. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm filming today on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam peoples, and very grateful to be a settler living and learning on this beautiful land.
I am Calum. My pronouns are they and them. I am the child of Vicki.
Yeah, and we're here today to talk with you about video games and sort of give you our own self-reg reframe of video games and video gaming. Yeah, I guess we got the idea for this session when I was reading the book Reframed, and Stuart was talking in there about some people who were using gaming where, the examples in the book were mostly around, gambling machines and having like a serious issue with needing to escape your stress by resorting to these activities that kind of make it so you don't have to think or feel anything to do with your stress. But there are some connections there, obviously, with video games and teens, and Calum and I have a personal interest in video games, not just because Calum's dad and my husband is a game programmer, but also because we both like to play video games. And when I first read that chapter in the book, I immediately thought that I wanted to share it with Calum and ask for Calum's opinion. So I did. And I was sort of asking, like, can you read this? And what do you think? Does this sort of reflect your experience or not?
Yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. It got me to read a lot more of Reframed as well, which was cool. I think that it's an important thing to think about with video games that you do sometimes see, and for me, sometimes I do. You go into the video game and you kind of just want to shut down and like not pay attention to outside stress. But additionally, video games can be fun and they can be fulfilling. So yeah. That's kind of what we want to talk about.
Yeah, that's right. I personally have met some families or some kids or young people who do have a serious challenge where they get so pulled into video games that they don't have a lot of balance in their lives, and it's a pretty maladaptive stress behavior. And obviously what we're going to be talking about today is based just on our own personal experience of a less extreme situation. So I just want to say, like, upfront, neither of us is trying to prescribe any particular remedy, or obviously this isn't a replacement for getting professional support if you feel like your family needs that. But we do kind of want to take a look at the role of video games sort of in this self-reg framework and in stress, because there's so many connections where video game use can be a stress behavior, but we've also noticed a lot of positives around gaming. So we just wanted to kind of talk about how it has actually been both kinds of experience for us, I guess.
Yeah. So, one of our recent experiences with gaming has been that Vicki plays this game called Elder Scrolls Online. It's an MMO, a massively multiplayer online game. And I've been playing it on and off. And there's this thing in it called a raid, which is like a really challenging encounter with 12 players in it. And they all have like these different roles, and they have to like work together to finish this goal. And there's this example of like, these challenges will come up during the raid, like a meteor will fall on one of the players, and you have to ask everyone to like come towards you so that it does less damage to everyone so that you survive and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's been a really interesting experience for me because I haven't really done a lot of like online gaming with other people or like relative strangers before. And I was quite surprised to discover how great these groups can be, that there's a lot of co-regulating that happens, that the content that we're doing, these 12 people parts of the game, that these challenges are actually really hard. They're considered to be the hardest part. So then when you get this group of people who've all come together with this common goal of trying to, pass a level or complete a section of the game that's going to have a lot of challenges, and you're going to be like making a lot of mistakes and messing up. It can be pretty regulating to have a group that's very supportive, which is mostly what we've found. Like, these groups have been really fun and a good learning experience for me, because like there's usually someone who's assigned to be like a raid leader. And like we've talked a little bit about how the raid leader can sort of set the tone and like be a teacher and like really supportive person as you're doing these really challenging things, so that makes it more fun. Instead of making it like a negative stressor, it becomes positive stress.
Yeah, there's this one raid leader from Australia that has a very soothing, deep voice. And I don't think I've ever heard them raise their voice or seem distressed by anything, even when we spend like 2 hours trying to do the same encounter and just failing, he doesn't really seem to mind.
Yeah, he can always like come up with some positive thing, and he really just believes in us. And then, okay, it's like, let's try again same time next week. And like, you really feel supported by him, and like the whole group feels like, you know, it wasn't necessarily the best outcome because we would have liked to finish this, but just to feel sort of like this person had this role of just really helping us to regulate through this difficult gaming experience has been like it's been really interesting for me, just because I only started playing this kind of game, you know, in the last year or so with the pandemic. But I know you've had a lot of experiences with online gaming where you found that people have like helped you regulate. And I know we talked about like ways that people think about their bodies and like checking in to make sure you're doing what you need while you're gaming.
Yeah, a lot of the time in these raid groups, people is like, there will be an in-game chat and they'll remind people to like check that you drank like water, or that you don't need food, or like to go to the bathroom even, or like your posture. Sometimes when you're sitting in a chair for a long time playing a game, you'll like slouch over time, so you get a posture check and that kind of thing. So like these are the kind of things that sometimes it happens when you're playing video games. You'll like forget about your physiological needs, but people will be there to remind you a lot of the time.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that can be a downside of gaming. Like, and I think that's something that we've noticed about ourselves, that when we've had times of high stress and we're using these games in like a maladaptive way to just sort of avoid thinking about our stress or avoid experiencing the stressor, it's really easy to sort of not notice that you haven't had anything to eat for a few hours, or like I know I personally have noticed sometimes that I get really tense. Like I noticed that my legs have been really tense while I've been sitting. And I'll just sort of tune in and be like, oh, this actually is really not good that I'm so unaware of what's going on in my own body.
Yeah, and it kind of speaks to how effective gaming is if you are really stressed and you're trying to shut everything out. Like it works.
Yeah,
I've been, it's been a learning process for me, because I've grown up pretty much always with games. I've played games since I was like 6. And I used to have a worse relationship with them.
yeah.
That's improved a lot since I've gotten a better understanding of self-reg and like stress, because now I can recognize that for me, at least, gaming is a negative stress. Like I run out of energy from gaming. So if I like sit down at my computer and I'm already tired, when I play the game, I'm just going to get like grumpy and I'm not going to have a good time at all.
Yeah.
And that's an awareness that I've had to develop over time. I used to just play the game and get grumpy.
Yeah, but I've noticed now that like you do spend a fair bit of time gaming. It's still like your main hobby, but it feels like you have a balanced life, and that gaming is just something that you like to do and you do it because you like it. And that when you don't like it anymore, you just stop.
Yeah.
And I know for a lot of people who have like children or teens who seem to be really hooked on games, or who are really into games, like it wasn't always that easy with Calum. Like there were definitely times when it felt like the games were sort of taking over Calum's life. And I remember there was this period of time with this like intense interest in Minecraft. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I played Minecraft a lot around like 2010, 2011, 2012. It's like pretty much the only thing I remember from that time. I would just play Minecraft. I would think about playing Minecraft. One time I got a 1-week suspension from Minecraft, and that's like a harsh memory in my mind of the time I didn't get to play Minecraft for a week.
Yeah. And like we can laugh about it now, but at the time it was really hard.
Yeah.
I think that you definitely were experiencing a lot of stress around that time, and that the gaming was something that you had like kind of fallen into as your stress coping strategy. It was one of those sort of maladaptive self-regulation activities. Right?
Yeah, it's not very good as a coping strategy, because it just makes you feel worse. If you already feel bad, to be clear, if you already feel bad, it can just make you feel worse.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were just talking about it, like it can make you feel better. But
right, it's almost like when you're already pretty regulated, then you can go and you can enjoy the game, and you can be a little bit more aware of what's going on in your body. So you can be like, oh, okay, well, I'm obviously very tense, or I haven't eaten for hours. This is not good. I'm going to stop doing this now and go do something that's more regulating. But I guess the problem, of course, is for a lot of people, they get into a place like you were in when you were younger, and it's not so easy to just get out, especially if some adult is coming and telling you like, this is not regulating, or you really need to go outside and run around. Like, I don't think that you really at the time found it like very welcome, but I am curious if we can sort of talk about what you remember like what changed things for you? And
yeah, it's really difficult to say. I remember what we did. We had like a screen time. We tried screen time limits. We tried a day where we just didn't use screens. I can't say for sure whether either of those things was like a tipping point or like what made it work for us. I feel like it was just like a gradual learning process where eventually you started talking about self-reg and it started getting into my head. And I think, and eventually like I learned about self-reg and there came a moment where I understood how to apply self-reg to games. And it was like, oh, I need to check if I'm thirsty when I'm playing video games, like this kind of thing. So, and that process took a few years for me to figure out.
Do you think there was anything that I did that might have been helpful to like move that process along, other than just sort of what we talked about? I don't know if many of you may have seen our session that we did last year, where we talked more generally about how I introduced self-reg to Calum, and it was a lot of just waiting for the right moment and like giving one or two pieces of information in a very neutral way, and then waiting, stepping back and waiting. So I don't know if it was just that, or
I think it was a lot that, but then there's also, I mean, there's other things. Like I feel like you frequently have made yourself available, like so that if it's time for me to stop gaming, then there's like something else that I can do, or like you'll like bring me some food or like some tea. That's a special one. That's we still do that. Like one of my parents will bring me like tea or coffee, and then we'll be like, and I my attention is pulled away from the game, and then maybe I'll realize like, oh, I'm actually hungry.
Yeah,
that's the thing that works for me.
For sure. And I would say too that like one of the things we identified is that you went from having gaming be kind of like your whole life to having a lot more balance, and like, you know, Calum goes to school, has a job, has a girlfriend, like there is a lot of other stuff that you do that isn't gaming. I mean, your girlfriend isn't really much of a gamer at all, right?
No,
so like...
she likes The Sims a lot, but we don't play games very often. Yeah. It's very sad. Oh, well. Yeah, I think balance is really important. That's a good thing to mention. Like it used to really be that I would just play games pretty much all the time. And now, like, to be clear, I play games a lot, like multiple hours every day. Like it's not like this is like once a week pleasure occasion. But I feel like I do have that balance now. Like I'll eat enough food, go do some schoolwork, go for a walk, or like take a bath if I need to regulate, this kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think that like possibly the starting point of that before I even knew about self-reg was that we needed to kind of create some boundaries around the gaming, because it really did get to the point where like, you know, it was all you wanted to do and it was all you could think about. And like, it was just Minecraft all the time. Calum was like the walking Minecraft encyclopedia. We used to joke. And now, as it turns out, Calum has a summer job working at a Minecraft day camp. So that's been turned into a really positive thing. And these kids are like so amazed that Calum knows so much and is an adult who knows about Minecraft. But yeah, I think that setting those boundaries was kind of a necessary step that we had to take. And it wasn't, I don't think, very pleasant for you at the time.
No, I don't have a lot of, I wasn't very fond of it. I remember that my number 2 option was playing board games, and I would like hound you to play a board game with me, because I was so like I couldn't find anything else to do with myself.
Yeah, so we had to like kind of come up with options and like be available, like you said, to try to make it so that there was something else you could do.
Yeah,
I remember sitting down with you and making lists of like alternative things you could do instead of gaming, and you not wanting to look at the lists because you were so annoyed.
I don't remember that. I remember the lists. I don't remember not wanting to look at them.
Yeah. But I guess just to wrap up, like basically one of the things that we thought was a really important thing to share about, like from our experiences, is to think about the role of gaming rather than like thinking of video games as being just a negative stressor or as a stress behavior, to recognize that like it depends on the situation, that gaming can be a positive stressor and it can be a negative stressor. And that I've learned for myself, like if I had this thing where if I get into a solitaire game and I just keep playing solitaire, like many games of solitaire, that's like my sort of Achilles heel that I know now when I see myself doing that, it's like, okay, why are you playing solitaire, Vicki? Like, it's just hard to know what's going on with you until you have that framework of self-reg where you can look at it and say, oh, look how much time I just spent playing solitaire, or look how I was just, you know, playing Elder Scrolls and my legs are like tense and sore because I didn't even know what I was doing with my body. Well, then I have a signal there that I'm under a lot of stress. And I think that you found that you've had similar experiences, right?
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, it's the exact same thing where I like we'll just learn to check in about like when and why I'm playing video games. Obviously, this still happens a lot that I'll find myself ignoring stuff because of video games, like around final exams. I play a lot of video games, which is not studying. But I'm able to recognize that now.
Yeah.
And I've, at least I'm not only playing video games. I do fine on my finals.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so I guess the kind of message we have, if there's something that I would say to parents who are concerned or maybe just wondering about their kids or their teens or young adults' use of gaming, I would say it's really about looking at the behavior around gaming and seeing it as like, is this a stressor? Is it a positive stressor, a negative stressor? Is there balance? Like, are they able to sort of notice that they're dysregulated and move away? Because that's obviously a long process of learning, but like being, I don't know, me being available sounds like offering other things was helpful.
Yeah, it was definitely important to have other things ready for me to do. Like once video games was crossed off as an option, I did manage to find other stuff to do, like these board games. And sometimes I do like writing projects. I really like doing game design for board or video games or whatever. Like it's still related to video games, but it's like, it's another thing I can go do, this kind of thing. Oh, I used to read those guidebooks. There would be these Prima video game guides, not a sponsor, that would like go through every quest in these video games, and I just like read them. I don't know if that's a very good thing.
I don't know about either, but at least it was like, it was a starting point to sort of be away from the game and find something you could do that you liked to do. And then gradually that kind of expanded to have more activities that were not gaming.
For sure.
And do you have anything that you would want to say to, like, if there's any teen or young adult watching this who recognizes themselves like that maybe their gaming is an issue, or maybe to the parents or caregivers or educators of those people, like, is there anything that you think would be useful for them to know from your experience?
I think it's just important to keep in mind your relationship with the game. Like if the game is literally taking over your life and you're not like eating or drinking, that's no good. Please make sure to eat and drink before you play video games and during your sessions. You need to feed your body.
Yeah,
that's my one piece of advice.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you for watching our session. We certainly hope it's been helpful to you and that maybe there's some food for thought there. You're welcome to reach out to me if you have any like questions or want to like ask about our experiences, or if you play Elder Scrolls Online and you want to join my gaming guild, then as a matter of fact, I think I might just go log into the game now, Calum, and maybe we'll finish recording our session.
There you go.
Thank you so much, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.